Hey guys, welcome to a little corner of my living room. I felt like filming out here because my bedroom is so small and it's really ruining me creatively, so I had to come somewhere more open and bright. Today I'm going to be doing a get ready with me on the image you saw in the thumbnail. This is an image I posted to Instagram yesterday. I was like testing out some products to kind of get a feel for a fall look, and I realized that that's like my go-to fall look for like events or dinners and stuff like that, so I figured that I would get ready with you and do that here today just to give you some inspiration, as well as to just kind of chat and give you a few little life updates here and there. Nothing too talkative though. It's mainly going to be about the makeup, so let's begin. I slept like total shit last night because Ava, my chihuahua, ate some garbage. We had a garbage bag out by the front door to take over to the trash chute, and like she beelined for it and chewed through it and got some chicken bones, and I guess also ate something poisonous. So she had symptoms of that. She was like pooping blood. It was pretty scary, so I had to take her to the emergency vet last night pretty late. I didn't get home until around 11, and then because of stress I didn't really fall asleep until 1, and then I had to be up at 6. So I'm going to be using something very dewy to kind of offset how tired I look, and my go-to is the e.l.f. Glow Lotion, or as I like to call it, the Glowtion. That was cheesy. And I'm just going to kind of like press this into the skin for a second to warm it up. She's totally fine though. $500 later, I found out that there was no bones in her intestines, nothing to worry about. Jess met me at the hospital for moral support. I didn't realize how stressed I was until she was there, and then I felt super relaxed. So I was so glad that she came up there. But yeah, Ava's doing fine. She has to be on some medicine for about a week and this really bland diet, which is like canned food. So I'm not kidding you. Yesterday she didn't eat at all, and I pulled that canned food out, and this dog is 3 pounds. She ate half of the can, and her belly was so big. So I think that that gave her some energy and helped her kind of sleep off the symptoms of whatever she ate. So as you can see, this gives a nice wet look to the skin, and any foundation you put over it will kind of cancel that out, but throughout the day that'll start to come back again as the foundation wears down into your skin. Today I'm going to be using, for the first time, the GRWM Essential High Coverage Cream Foundation. I am in the shade Fawn. I've swatched this a few times on my hand and on my jaw, and it oxidizes so quickly. Like it goes from like a yellow to kind of a yellow orange. So I like this foundation, but the first thing I noticed was that there is like a weird variety of shades. I wish there was more dark shades. Do you see how dark it's starting to get already? Because not everyone can use it. I think there's like 4 or 5 dark shades, and they're not really that dark, and those oxidized on my hand as well. But I mean, there just needs to be more inclusivity, I feel, in makeup. Anyway, the formula of this is really nice. My lips are totally gone now. It's very high coverage. That was one pump, this whole thing. It blends out very prettily with this brush that comes with it. It's pretty thin, decently thin, medium to full coverage with just like, this is going to be way too much, so let me just, you know, get some of that off. With just the tiniest bit. So I feel like a little bit goes a long way, which is really good given that it's a mid-range kind of pricey foundation. And it also is matte, but still has a bit of a satin finish to it. Like you can still see a bit of glowiness through my skin, through the foundation. I'm going to conceal with the Wet n Wild concealer. I'm in the shade of Light Ivory in this. So I also have been a bit MIA upload-wise. If you follow me on other platforms, you already know everything going on, but I want to update those of you who mainly keep up with me here. Our schedule, mainly my husband's work schedule, has been so over the top. Like, I'm just like shocked a little bit. It goes back to normal next week, but for example, he's been working close to 20-hour days, and it's just so much for me to manage, and he's just working his ass off literally and comes home so exhausted, and that is so stressful because I hate when the people I care about are like really tired or really stressed or overworked or whatever. So it's just been a little overwhelming. And on top of that, as many of you know, we do have a child, so I have been having to try to manage my work schedule as well as manage everything around the house, every errand, every chore, every bill, making sure everything's paid on time, dealing with the landlord and all this stuff, like literally on my own for the last week and a half. And it's just been quite overwhelming to the point where like by 5 p.m., which is usually when I will like film my second video or whatever, I've been like taking naps, and I'm not a napper. So it's been a lot. So I just wanted to thank you guys for being patient with me while I'm kind of sporadic right now. All right, I'm gonna set the under eyes with a little bit of NYX banana powder just because this is so brightening. I mean, it looks like I slept 15 hours, and this stuff is so cheap. If you've been here a while, you know this is one of my like all-time can't live without products. Just gonna put on some lip balm. This is the Drunk Elephant lip balm. It's the most expensive lip balm I own. I think it's like $25 and it's so small. And then I'll zoom you in to do the eyes. I'm priming really quickly with the L'Oreal Magic Decrease Primer. This is exactly the same as the Smashbox one, but it's a drugstore alternative for those interested. When I apply primer with the finger, I tend to like pat and pull like this because that helps it melt into the eyelid without lifting up the concealer. Usually a beauty blender will give you like the most flawless application though. I'm using the Nabla Dreamy palette, which looks like a Prada bag first of all, so I immediately love. And with these shades, they're so smooth and blendable, but they're very pigmented and they will stick down. So I'm gonna set my eyes really quick with this MAC Next to Nothing pressed powder. It's very lightweight, gives a nice light finish. Sometimes if you set with too heavy a powder, when you go to blend out the shadow, it blends away that powder as well. It kind of makes it ball up on itself, which I'm sure some of you have noticed. It's simply just because you're using a powder that's not finely milled enough. So this palette has a lot of really nice fall shades, and there's a nice mix of cool, warm, and neutral tones in here. I like that there's such a good mix because I feel like I've been reaching for this all the freaking time. So I'm going to start out with the shade Sistina. This is a shade I used in the look I posted on Instagram, and I'm just going to swirl this around in the crease, and truly you just need like the tiniest tap into the pan, and it just blends itself out so seamlessly with the tiniest amount. Since my eyes are a little bit deep set, and they are, as you can see when I rest my eyebrows, slightly hooded right there, I can't really just go back and forth when I blend, so I lift the brow and then I go back and forth and also pull it up and out toward the tail. This is going to make the look more elevated on your lids if you have a similar eye style to me, rather than having it become totally hidden by either your fold or your eyebrow. On the outer corner, I'm going to take the shade Senorita, which is a mid-toned plummy, why do I keep saying plum? It's cranberry, I'm getting my fruits mixed up. And I'm just going to dot this around that outer edge with a Morphe M518. Also, these dotting motions that I'm doing really help to blend things up smoothly over like this big part of my brow bone right here. If I were to just kind of swirl it around here, it gets stuck right in my crease where my actual bone is and creates like a darker line right there usually. So kind of dotting it and then swirling it helps to get rid of that effect. Then I'm going to pull some of that excess blend over into the crease just to shape it and elongate the eye a little bit. That way it's not like, see how it looks right now where there's just like this dark like smattering on the corner? I don't like that. I like it to kind of look like it fades into the darker shade. I'm going to go back in with a little bit of Sistina, which is the peachier shade, just to kind of smooth those edges together. I don't know if you'll notice, but I notice it stuck down just barely right there. That's the only con I notice with this palette, is that it tends to stick down the darker shades right where you set them if you don't really powder the eye. I thought I powdered mine enough, but apparently not. But anyway, we're going to deepen up the outer corner a little bit more. I'm going to go in with the tiniest bit of the shade Dogma, which is like a cool tone brown, and just dot that right along like the outer lash line / outer corner area. And I'm just using the tiniest dotting, dabbing motions. I really just want this to be like a lash darkener, something that's going to ground that cranberry shade we used and make it so that it doesn't look like it's kind of just floating out there. On the lower lash, I'm going to go back in with Senorita, which is that cranberry shade, and just diffuse that toward the outer corner. And I'm just pressing and then smudging around, pressing and smudging around so that the most color is right up against the lashes. That way there's no like skin toned gap between the lash and the blend. On the inner corner, I'm going to go in with the shade Vanitas. I think that's how you say it. It's like a peachy duochrome, something just to play up those peachier, more red undertones in the look. And because my eyes are more deep set, I can never just apply it here. I have to drag it out toward the lash line, and then same thing up on the inner corner. If you also have deep set eyes, that's like the little hack that I do to make it show up. I'm so jealous of people who can just like apply it by their nose and it's so bright. Like that never happens for me. I have to really go full drama with it. I'm gonna go with a little bit of glitter as well. This is the shade Grind by Urban Decay. It's a heavy metal glitter liner, and I'm just gonna go over the inner corner highlight on the lower lash, just to make it pop a little bit more. All right, so mascara, I'm gonna use my usual Urban Decay Perversion. This is like one of the most blackening, thickening mascaras I've ever used. And it also makes your lashes so long. All right, I darkened the ISO so you guys could see the dimension, but here's the finished eye. I like how it's really diffused and like standard fall, but it has that glitter pop in the inner corner that kind of gives it more of a girly edge rather than just being the typical like diffused cranberry eyeball. I'm gonna be bronzing today with this ColourPop bronzer. There's no shade names on these. It's weird packaging. None of the packaging for the bronzers or highlights has a shade name. It just says pressed face powder, highlighter, and bronzer. So I'll just list the name on the screen, but this is a little bit more red than I usually reach for, but these bronzers are so subtly pigmented that it doesn't leave like this big red mark on the face or make you look muddy or kind of flushed all over. It just has enough red undertone to play up these like pinky purple tones on the eyes. To highlight the face, I'm going to be trying out the new Milk Makeup Space Jam palette. These are mostly duochromes. I would say that this one is the most pigmented. It reads very red on the skin, but this one's like a goldy one. This one's like a pink with a green shift, and this one's like a blue with a lavender shift. So I think I'm going to go in with this one first and just do like the lightest layer. That way only the duochrome is really showing on the skin. These are so subtle. I love it. It's truly like just that duochrome. Literally looks invisible on the skin. Even with like most of my glossy highlighters, you can still see them on the skin, but this one just blends right in and gives that reflect. It's so pretty. And when I apply highlight, I do swirl it around, as you guys know, but I take it all the way into here because the way my cheekbones are like built into my bod, my face, if I don't like swirl it there, it tends to look like it just kind of ends. So I swirl it right up under the eye and it gives a really nice rounded effect to the cheekbone. When the light hits it, it just looks soft and round. Down the nose, I'm going to take the more gold one. It's more neutral. I should say down the center of the face. Also going to use that one above the brows, just a dash, you know, just a little bit of glossiness, nothing extreme. For blush, going to use this NYX Away We Glow thing. What is this? How many are in this? Quad? It's a quad. This is supposed to be an illuminator, but I tend to use these as blushes. This one is in the shade Crushed Rose Petal, and I'm just going to be swirling through the 3 matte shades and just brushing them along the apples of my cheeks and down into the bronzer slash contour. On Instagram, I made the lips of this very dark, but I felt like they were almost too dark, so I'm gonna lighten them up just a little bit. It's in the same Dusty Plum family, but for lip liner today, I'm gonna instead use MAC in Control to line and fill them in. And then over that, I'm using a Bare Minerals matte liquid lipstick. This one is in the shade Flawless, and I'm just gonna pat that right over top. This has that same dusty plum hue like I mentioned, but it's about a shade and a half lighter, so it's really nice for daytime wear, whereas the darker one I wore before I feel was more perfect for like an evening version. The formula of these is really nice. I used to dislike it, but then I kind of got used to it. It's very lightweight, hydrating. I feel like it's the exact same formula as the M Infinite Lip Clouds. It even has the same smell, kind of like that chocolatey smell, and it lasts about the same. Here is the final look. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope it inspired you to throw on some fall tones, especially if you are in southern region like I am. It's 101 out right now, and it is 11:26 a.m. Just a beautiful time of year. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video, and thank you again for being patient with me while I've been going through a little bit of a stressful time in my work life and home life. Your encouragement truly has helped me so much, so I just wanted to take a second to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, throw it a thumbs up, and we'll talk again in my next one.